Oh, hi! It's that time again. Now, I know this episode is a little bit delayed, and I still have not been able to fix that follower notification. Even though it happens on my account, it comes over here to the BlizzPro channel, but we'll just keep running with this episode, episode opening. But, this is being recorded on a Thursday as opposed to a Wednesday because my work schedule has changed up a little bit because it's just a hectic time of the year. We got some big movies coming out. The hours of operation have extended. Everything's just kind of like going through, getting crazy. Well, not really. Movie theaters are still like really down, but it still doesn't prevent the business from itself being crazy, even if they're not busting down the doors like they normally are. So that's why this episode's coming a little bit later. And of course, for those that listen to YouTube or the podcast itself, if you're not joining me over here live on the Twitch channel, this is not going to make it in time for the actual season opener. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be going through and making the show edited and then tonight and then uploaded before I go to work. And I won't be getting home in time to get it uploaded before the season starts. But doesn't prevent me from going through and talking about it at least a little bit, as I sit here in anticipation for the upcoming season 25, which brings us, of course, to the episode proper itself. Welcome to episode 222, season 25 on deck. Maybe I should have said season 25 just to get even more twos in that episode title. I'm sure it's important somewhere, right? But anyways, as you come to expect for the episodes, we've got some stuff to talk about, as far as the ongoing legal troubles facing Blizzard Entertainment, with the ongoing, issues with employment, discrimination, harassment, etc., etc. We have the season 25 going through right at our doorsteps. By the time that you're listening to this episode, it probably will have already launched, but still it's coming out tomorrow, December 10th. In the various regions. Normally I believe it's around 5 o'clock of the core mainframe server time for wherever your region happens to drop. So it's like 5 o'clock here in North America. It's 5 o'clock Pacific time. In the Southeast Asia regions, it's 5 o'clock Korean time, KR. I think it's properly. I'm not sure, but you know the drill. You know the drill, right? You've got practice doing these seasoner openers, of course. We've had a patch for Diablo 2 Resurrected. We've got some a lot of fun and feedback for Diablo Immortal as my own kind of like playtesting experience begins to wind down as the holidays begin to wind up. And speculation on Diablo 4 a little bit to close out the episode. But of course, going back to what I feel is some of the most important things going and facing any Blizzard community, particularly us over here in the Diablo side of things, is the ongoing legal troubles facing Activision Blizzard, in particular Blizzard Entertainment itself. As we talked about on the previous episode, there have been some scathing reviews coming up and allegations that have been hitting the CEO, Bobby Kotick, who has been long time chided within the gaming community about wanting to, I believe what was his quote, suck the fun out of gaming. But yeah, it was, just some really, really God, you guys are doing some fucked up shit, but that just takes the cake. Allegedly, sending death threats to his secretary for reporting him, to HR. Allegedly, just trying to cover the tracks for people that have been found internally by HR. And it's this guy's a piece of shit. We need to fire him. And then Bobby Kotick is apparently, nah, let's keep him. Amongst other things. And so that has called, for a lot of people working at not just Blizzard, but across, Activision Blizzard itself, King and all their other various studios to go and call for the resignation of Bobby Kotick, in varying degrees of the people on the board that have helped continue to enable an individual such as Bobby Kotick in order to continue to do the things that he does. And with that, Activision stock obviously hasn't been doing all that well, and more entities are going through and beginning to put on and apply pressure. Bobby Kotick, a privately addressed email to the board, has said that he's floating the idea that if there's nothing else that he can do in order to try and navigate these waters, or however he said it, that he is leaving at least resignation on the table. But so far, the board of directors at Activision Blizzard they've got Bobby's back. They're supporting him and thinking that basically, well, we have a zero tolerance policy when it comes to sexual harassment, but not to the board members. Apparently is where that zero tolerance stops. This is caused, I believe it's like the states of like California, Missouri, Idaho, a whole bunch of state treasuries that have like pension funds and other investments in stocks that have some significant stakeholds over in ATVI stock. Have issued demands to the board, saying, what are you guys going to be doing to rectify this? Because it's not just the fact that the stock itself is dropping, but it's the actions that the board is undertaking that are causing these, negative work environments, and they have like zero faith and a lack of trust in, the company's ability in order to steer the company out of this. And so, there's continuing to be more and more pressure coming at the ATVI and his board of directors in order to oust not just Bobby Kotick, but other various members. Some are calling for like some specific board members that have shady financial ties to Bobby Kotick, with the date all the way back to the acquisition of Activision from Vivendi. Because it's like way back in the day, and the whole reason why it's called Activision Blizzard is because Vivendi Entertainment bought Activision and they sold them stock in order to like buy it, and so it became Activision Blizzard. But then Activision, Activision Blizzard bought themselves back from Vivendi, but then set it up in like some offshore nest egg accounts and all this other types of just like creative accounting that caused like some massive lawsuits and some very hefty fines from the government, and about how it all played out, all other types of stuff. It's like, so it's like it's like all these things going through, and it's like damn, it's just and it's like a couple of the board members like helped him do this. They were like the names on the checks that were going through and like signing off on all of this. And so they want them out, as well as other people that might have some past experiences with like harassment allegations and such. And then other people are just like, the whole batch is bad. Just get rid of them, because, whoever else that we get in, what are they going to be? Worse? It's just like, these people just aren't going to, they don't have they don't have what's necessary in order to move the company forward. Get rid of all of them. And it doesn't even stop there, because last week, one of the other development studios over at Activision, Raven Software, recently let go like 20 of its QA employees, the contract like temporary, quality assurance employees. And the reason given was because the company is transitioning contract employees to full-time employees, and so that there's certain cuts that were necessary in order to offset costs. And ATVI is like one of the biggest, most profitable businesses in gaming, let alone in like just the US. That is just like, no, you've got money. Like, these people are like working on Call of Duty. Like, there's money there. Like, there's a lot of money there. You can afford 20 QA employees that are paid, paltry sums when you compare it to like what the senior developers and such are making. And this is apparently just like, then again, there's allegations of this is like, stock standard like union busting techniques, that it's like, oh, you want benefits, that means we gotta fire people. if you want higher pay, that means we got to fire people, and trying to put the onus back on, look, the employees are being greedy and we're having to fire people, and that's not how it works. You don't have to fire people. You just means that, the corporate CEOs and the shareholders make slightly less profit. They're still making profit. They're just making slightly less profit. And where's the harm in that if it means that you're going to have a better quality product that might make more money in the future, right? Does that make sense? I don't know. But in solidarity, I should note that one of the things that makes this just particularly appalling, besides the reasoning given, is that these 20 employees, amongst a whole bunch of other employees, had recently relocated to the new offices on the East Coast. They had uprooted their lives and moved across country in order to go through and work at this new studio, with the promise of being made a permanent employee and relocation assistance being given to them after they completed their move, and then they were handed a pink slip. So they were given a promise, put their whole life upside down, and potentially put themselves into debt in order to go through and do this move between the closing, potentially signing off on an early lease, first last security, putting a down payment on a new house or something like that, whatever it is that they took in order to go through and move out there. And then now you're out of your job, and there's going to be zero assistance or anything like that coming from ATVI. That in order to give the full the coverage of the story itself. But in solidarity with those employees, Better Activision Blizzard King, ABK, the kind of the workers advocate group, in solidarity, staged some multiple walkouts earlier this week. On Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, they staged walkouts across the company, not just at Raven Software, where the rest of the QA staff went through and walked out. You've had other people at Blizzard, at Activision itself, King, Treyarch, and such, at many of the companies across both QA divisions as well as developers participate in these walkouts in order to go and show solidarity with, we're not going to stand for the way that you're treating these employees, and you're using them as pseudo bargaining tools in order to try and talk down the movement that the workers are trying to put together in order to give themselves a better working environment and being paid and respected with the amount that they feel that they should. And that itself has also now culminated in just certain members over at Activision Blizzard, particularly members of ABK, now are formally taking the steps forward to unionize. Part of that is there's a GoFundMe that has started in order to try and fund what's called, I guess they're posting it as a strike fund, as well as having some funds allocated, to those 20 employees that had moved and uprooted themselves in order to go through and get this promised permanent position that were then fired, as well as in order to go through and raise funds in order to push forward with a full strike, across the company, because there is no union at Activision Blizzard, so there are no dues that have been paid, and there's no funds available. So if anybody at the company strikes, they're not collecting a paycheck. They're putting a massive financial burden on themselves in order to stand up for their ideals. And so part of the idea of this GoFundMe is in order to help try and compensate for some of those wages. The GoFundMe is set at $1 million, and depending upon how many people actually participate, those funds could run through very quickly, very quickly. And so it is. It'll be interesting to go through and watch as they actually put together the plans and the process for an actual work stoppage and a full-on strike. How many people are going to participate, which studios themselves are going to go through and participate. A lot of the focus primarily at the moment is, of course, Blizzard itself, within the Activision Blizzard, umbrella. But it's going to have some interesting effects in the coming weeks and or months, depending upon, when this actually stops, what departments it hits, and how, of course, Activision Blizzard management goes through and responds to this. While all the world is watching, because of the the ongoing legal disputes between the sexual harassment and discrimination against the company. They also are taking the steps in order to pass out unionization cards, because if they get enough employees within any of the individual studios to sign them, so like they don't need a certain number across Activision Blizzard itself, but if they get like enough signatures at Blizzard or at Treyarch directly, they can then push forward for that individual entity to unionize. Once they have a certain number, I'm not sure what the actual requirement is for how many unionization authorization cards they get signed is required, by the national, labor laws. That's one of those other ones where you start getting into those things where it's like, labor laws in California, of course, are really complicated and tricky. There's a lot of things that protect the employees there, but unionization laws are generally handled at like the federal level, because like unions don't really work with labor laws in the same. Labor laws are more structured towards how the employer treats the employee, and then the union kind of comes in the middle and negotiates, for the employee as like a collective bargaining. So there's a little bit of interplay. You can go across states and stuff like that, but a lot of the formal appointment of a union is handled at the federal level. It's at a national level. And once they have enough of those cards, again, I don't know how many, but once they have enough of those cards, they're able to move forward on a union vote. And in order to successfully unionize, they do need a majority. Though that majority is just, it's a 51% majority. They just, if it's 100 people, they just need 51 to vote for the union, and then boom, there's a union. There is no right to work laws in California, so there's no state level detrimental laws to stop unions or anything like that. So they collectively would all be able to go through, join the union, begin paying dues, and then use the dues for like back pay from strikes and all other types of things. But that's a long, potentially complicated process, and of course Activision Blizzard is going to fight it tooth and nail, because they already, in order to represent them in the the lawsuit against the state of California, they have Wilmer Hale, which is a nationally known, internationally known union busting firm, is one of their big bread and butter type cases that they take. And so they're already planning countermeasures to this. But the people over at ABK, they've been working with the code AWA, which is a national union group for I believe it's like telecommunication workers and such, that also deal with a lot of union groups within like the various like different types of art industries, entertainment industries and such, and they have a particular aspect that could help kind of like the entertainment minded video game developers and such. That hopefully this is going to be the thing that then takes it a step forward, because in the US there are like no video game unions. Everywhere else in the city, in the civilized world, unions are everywhere. They represent everything. Even I believe I was reading a story just last week that there is still legal disputes about the closure of the Versailles office, the head of the Blizzard Entertainment's European customer service over in France. That was closed, over a year ago, and there's still legal disputes over that and the unfair treatment of the employees, and that Activision Blizzard broke French labor laws and the closure of those studios and laying off all of the employees. So that's like one of those ones where it's like those employees have all been fired, they've all been like moved on to other jobs or other such various things, and they're still potentially entitled to even more money from Activision Blizzard because, well, unions. Who would have thought, right? And to steal a quote that popped up in some Discord conversations that I was having earlier from a friend of mine, Kevin. I should actually just pull it up directly so I don't misquote it. But I think he probably said it best. It is just, companies don't want unions, which almost always tells you that they're universally good for the workers. I mean, it's the best way to sum it up. Sure, there's some negative aspects to unions, and there's exploitation that will happen in unions and such, but nowhere near the level of bad things or exploitation that happens without unions. And with unions, at the end of the day, you get better benefits, you get better pay, you get better everything for the employee. You net better benefits regardless of any of the cons. You will just net better, period. Like, period. The stories and all of that goes on and on and on. So that's it. You know, we've spent, you know, the first 20 minutes here talking about the lawsuit. But again, I open every one of these episodes with talking about these ongoing legal troubles facing Blizzard, because I want Blizzard to be the company I always thought it was, that apparently it never actually was. That what we collectively thought that Blizzard was this really great, shining exemplar, you know, of the video game industry, and it turned out they weren't. They were just like anybody else. All the shit that was happening at Riot was happening at Ubisoft, it was happening at Blizzard too. They weren't any different, but we want them to be different. We want them to be better, you know, and so we still hold out hope, because hey, I still like Diablo, I still kind of like World of Warcraft, kind of, you know, but it's definitely, I want to be excited in order to go through and, you know, purchase Diablo 4. You know, I don't want to go through and be like, well, I really like Diablo, I want to support Diablo, and I want to support, you know, my friends that are helping make these Diablo games, that they're not the abusive assholes. At least we hope that they're not the abusive assholes. I know the people that are still there, you know, we know that, you know, pretty much aren't the abusive assholes. And that, you know, they're the good people that are making these games. There are far more victims than there are abusers. And so to just swear off everything is going to hurt more good people than it does bad people. But I also don't want that, you know, that moral ambiguity of like, well, but by buying this, I'm giving more money to Bobby Kotick than I am to my friends that helped made the game, you know, and that doesn't sit right. So let's hope that that type of stuff. Diablo 4's got another year. It's ruminating. It's not coming out in 2022. It gives us plenty of time to, you know, help correct course a little bit. Not obviously, you're not going to fix everything, but hopefully it corrects the course and we get headed in a better direction. But anyways, moving on to greener pastures, we do of course have Diablo 3, where the talk of the town is, you know, Season 24 is dead, long live Season 25. The patches here, it dropped just yesterday, I believe, or 2 days ago. I'm already losing my mind. It dropped on the 7th, because I thinking that today is Wednesday. But yeah, it's we got a whole bunch of changes. You know, we've covered the actual gyms in a previous episode, but again, to just give kind of like an oversimplification of the Season 25 seasonal theme, you've got a collection of new gemstones that can only be used in the helm, and some that can only be used in the weapon, that then are applying a lot of really cool thematic effects based off of the 7 prime evils. You know, if you haven't seen them, let me go through and click over here real quick. That is not working. That is not working at all. Give me 1 second here. But we've got where's the overlay? Overlay is not wanting to work, does it? No. I should have tested this beforehand. But anyways, well, we'll just go through click over real quick. If you haven't seen it yet, you've got the beautiful you know, selection of gemstones here, including the lovely baguette larva that is, of course, the little nod to Duriel, the maggot lord. You know, it's just some beautiful little effects there and everything. They've got the 7 gems based off of the 7 evils, and they have various effects. You've got everything. The majority, of course, are going to be like DPS affecting abilities, so there are some that are a bit more meta focused that are like, you know, one is specifically for like clearing trash and then reduces your damage for bosses. There's like a support gym that just like overall lowers your damage but gives you some better support options and such, that are really going through affecting gameplay, adding a lot of change and a lot of opening up a lot of like build diversity to the meta, giving a lot of people some different play styles that they go through and try out. And this is really seeming to have as much of an effect, if not more of an effect, than the Ethereals did in Season 24. Though there's no cosmetic effect for going and collecting all of them. They're really not that rare. They have a really decent chance at dropping. Where can you find them? You can, just doing rifts, you know, Rift Guardians have a decent chance at dropping randomly one of the 7. Though you can go through and farm the various act bosses in order to have a chance at going and collecting them. Though some act bosses have a better chance than, or have not a better chance, so let me go through and start that one over. So for the gems themselves, each act has a specific gem that it can drop. And so when you're going through to farm them, you specifically want to farm specific acts if there's one that you're trying to find. So like the Essence of Anguish it drops from any of the act bosses in Act 1. Whereas the Dredge of Lies drops from any of the bosses in Act 2, though apparently not Vidian. But when you get into Act 3, all of the act bosses has a chance at dropping the Stain of Sin or the Fragment of Destruction. Though it will, the way that it works is you don't have to, like, there's kind of like almost a pseudo RNG protection that if it drops one, it drops the other. Is either it drops nothing or it drops both at the same time, which is the same thing in Act 4 is the Remnant of Pain, the Sliver of Terror. Any of the act bosses that you defeat there, they either drop nothing or they just drop both at once. And then finally the Shard of Hatred drops off any of the act bosses in Act 5. And then, you know, Rift Guardians you can just find anywhere. You know, so just doing rifts and greater rifts, you're going to collect them. You're going to get a whole bunch of them. And then, you know, in order to go through and upgrade them, you just kind of like you combine like additional soul shards into them in order to unlock new power. And then also while you're leveling up, there is some useful, because you can well, in the leveling process you can salvage them, and when you salvage them you'll get you'll normally just get a couple of Imperial gems, which is like really good, especially at the lower levels. You'll go through and you can get like a couple of Imperial gems, though you'll occasionally also get a flawless Royal gem, which you normally do not have access to at all while leveling. You can sometimes, you know, with various things, such as if you get lucky with like a puzzle ring early on, if you pop it early, you can get, you know, regular the Marquee and Imperial gems to drop for you. Some other things like can drop, some other events and things like that can drop Imperial gems long before they're supposed to at level 61. So this is just another opportunity that you have, because they're relatively common, that you can salvage a couple of the lower level ones to get those gems, because you're just going to find a ton of them once you get max level anyways. You don't really have to like hold on to them or hoard them. And there's also, you know, as I talked about in previous episodes, there's a little bit of RNG at the ranks 2 and 4. There are RNG effects that you can get. The rank 0 is always the same, the rank 1 is always the same, and then the rank I believe it's the rank 2, the rank 2 and the rank 3, actually. It's because it's the 4 ranks, and it starts at 0. So sorry, I'm confusing myself. But the rank 2 and the rank 3 has a couple of various properties. You're going to be leveling a lot of these up through the course of the season to try and get all of the specific effects that you want, you know, on the gem. And then, you know, so once you get those, you're going to be salvaging a lot of them. But also, is going to be perfect if you're like me and don't dedicate a lot of time throughout the entirety of the season, because you can also use these soul shards to augment things. And it starts as a rank 0 soul shard, so just going through killing a Rift Guardian, getting a soul shard that you're never going to use, you can use it to get a rank 50 augment on your gear. So it's just boom. It's the same thing as if you ranked a gem up to rank 50 and then augmented your gear with it, all the way up to a max rank 3 gem, or max rank 3 soul shard will give you a rank 125 augment. So as if you leveled a legendary gem up to 120, a rank 125, and then use that for your augmentation piece. So it is going to be augments galore for everybody and anybody. That if barring anything else, if your highest seasonal clear is normally just limited by the amount of time that you had to play in the season, it's probably just going to be one of your highest this season if you don't really push all that far, just because you'll have full rank 125 augments across all of your gear with just minimal play. It's not that hard in order to go through and get 13 rank 3 augments, because the stat that it gives is still based off of the gems that you're using to augment it with. And by just using the emanate system that we got earlier in the year, just throw a broken crown with whatever gem that it is that you want to copy on your follower while going through rifts and greater rifts, and you will have more of your gem of choice than you will ever have anything to do with. So Emerald if you're playing Monk or Demon Hunter, Ruby if you're playing Crusader or Barbarian, and then Topaz if you're playing Wizard, Necromancer, or Witch Doctor. Just throw that gem into the helm of the broken helm on your follower. You don't have to worry about taking up any of your cube slots or anything like that, and it doubles the number of gems that you collect. And so you're gonna if you normally through going through rifts you find 100 gems, you're gonna find 100 gems plus 100 more of whatever it is that you're looking for. Best way in order to go through and farm up all of those flawless royals, so that way you can churn through all of these augments and get your gear fully statted out with rank 125s, and then just push. Because there are a lot of builds that only unlock at certain stat breakpoints. Some of the higher end monk builds only get that borderline survivability that they're required once you have once you're nearing 15,000 dexterity, 20,000 dexterity. You just need ridiculous amounts of main stat in order for it to work, and these augments are going to help push you very far along that way. So you can get maybe a different level of play than you might have experienced in previous seasons, just through that one aspect alone, in addition to just the power that you get from the soul shard itself. It's huge. If you never really played around with it, it's something that should be hopefully eye-opening to you when you go through and try out. But yeah, otherwise, besides just that, you do have, of course, the new seasonal theme. The new seasonal, not theme, but rewards. You've got these classic retro, the Pain of Tristram portrait and the Dark Lordling pet. So it is, kind of like the cathedral-esque portrait frame with the old Diablo 1 Diablo head, and then a kind of a reimagined. We've already gotten a Diablo 1 Diablo pet, but now is a higher fidelity Diablo 1 Diablo pet that we'll be able to get, because we are going into, at the end of this month, beginning of next month. It always changes. Some originally it was said, oh, it's December 31st, and then some other times it's oh, it's January 3rd. But at the end of this month, the Diablo franchise is turning 25. At December 31st, 1996, or January 3rd, 1997, Diablo 1 came out, and so this is part of kind of a celebration of the 25 years of Diablo, is why we're having these throwbacks to the original D1 sprite and kind of art style. And you get that, of course, by unlocking Guardian. In addition, if you don't have the super impressive Imperious, portrait frame, because the regular seasonal cosmetics are going through and unlocking. That if you missed the Imperious portrait frame, one of my personal favorites, one of the ones that I continue to use to this day, is really cool because that one had a unique effect at Guardian. I'll just pull this up on screen again real quick. And so this one was cool because as you leveled through, obviously you have the portrait frame that has like the little, like the copper, bronze, silver, gold molten ring and leaf on the portrait frame itself. When you hit Guardian, it added in Solarian, Imperious' spear, to the side of the portrait frame, where it was cool that because it was like one of the first times they did that as they were making that seasonal portrait frame artwork. So if you're missing those are a second opportunity in order to go through and grab them. But in order to unlock the Diablo 1 pet in portrait, you do have to get Guardian. Normally one of the biggest things that stops people from getting Guardian is the conquest, is getting the 3 conquests. Generally the hardest aspect, besides mastering a set dungeon, in mastering a set dungeon is just so weird because it's become difficult because of power creep, and that you actually have to like tone yourself down in order to finish them, because you kill things too easily to complete certain objectives. Use a guide resource such as Icy Veins or something like that in order to walk you through the set dungeons. But the other big one is, of course, conquests. You have to complete 3 conquests throughout the season, and certain seasons are easier than others. RNG was pretty nice this time around because completing a Greater Rift 75 solo is just something that you do anyways in order to unlock primal items. It is so easy. Pretty much every set in the game is going to get you to Greater Rift 75 with minimal investment. So all of the Hadrig's gifts are going to be able to get you up to the 75. Some classes is going to be more of a struggle than others. The Necromancer and Narius is one of the weaker ones this rotations versus, say, the Crusader and Invokers being an incredibly powerful one, or the newly buffed Demon Hunter Shadows set that are part of the Hadrig's gifts. But everyone should be able to solo a 75 with a minimal amount of investment. That one is just something that you'll accumulate through. The thrill, so completing a Greater Rift 45 solo without any set items, is again, that's another incredibly easy one. Even a rank 0 Legacy of Nightmares thrown into your gear with 1 or 2 ancients will be more than sufficient to clear a Greater Rift 45 solo. If you're having difficulties, if you're having troubles with it, again, Diablo fans, Icy Vein, Max Roll, they all have some guides for all of the classes in order to go through and complete that. But if you still struggle, my absolute best tip, once you have your max level character and you've leveled them up a little bit, you've been playing with the season, just take the time, level up a Gem of Ease, use that to get level 70 weapon, level up a Demon Hunter. You can do it solo. If you have friends, just have them, power level you. It's just going to take a couple minutes, either solo or in a group. Doesn't really matter. Get the Demon Hunter, up to level 70. Find yourself a Yang's recurve. You're done. That's pretty much it. Really, nothing else is needed. Just make sure that you have a legendary in every gear slot. Doesn't matter what it is. Have a Yang's recurve. Put in a rank 0 Legacy of Nightmare. And put multi-shot on your bar, profit. And that is the absolute easiest Greater Rift 45 solo that you can do for anybody in any build that you can. But again, there's a very easy to find build for every single class out there on the internet in order to get that. Super easy. You'll absolutely be able to do it. The next one, you do have a couple of easier options. The easiest, of course, is going to be the Curses Stars Align. Kill 350 kill 350 or more monsters in a Cursed Chess event at level 70 on Torment 10 difficulty or higher. You can find groups. There's a bunch of communities that are out there for farming conquests. This one in particular, once you can farm Torment 16, you can complete this objective. relatively easily with any type of speed farming build. Again, I want to say, any variation of a Demon Hunter multi-shot build is probably one of the easiest things to do this on Cursed Pete in Act 5. You can just cycle through remaking games in order to go and do that. I did this at the end of Season 24 on my Necromancer in order to help complete my seasonal conquest. And, I think I was finding... because I failed it a couple of times because in my infinite wisdom, I forgot that the ethereal dagger is not, in fact, a scythe. So I kept wondering, why am I running out of essence? Like, I'm going through and I'm spamming my bone spears, I'm killing a whole bunch of monsters, but reaping isn't triggering and refilling my essence. What's going on? Why am I running out? And it's like, oh yeah, it's not a scythe. It doesn't trigger. So don't be like me. Actually, make sure that your build is working properly as it should. But otherwise, I think I found like the two Cursed Petes in maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes of farming at most. It takes a little bit of time. It is really boring, but it's not that bad. Or you can get a group together, and a group of 4 people is going to farm it up like really quick, or just join one of the communities online to go and get it. The other one, of course, that you can do is really easy to do solo, just a little bit of a time investment, and it's not my favorite thing to do, but is master the any 8 set dungeons. It still does require you to do 2 separate classes, because you only have so many set dungeons per class, but just farming on one character should be able to max out all of those, and you only have a couple of sets that you have to get on like a secondary character in order to finish them. Even less if you're farming in a group. If you're playing in a group, you can just trade set pieces. If you're playing a Necromancer and a friend is playing a Demon Hunter, you can just trade set pieces and then flip and do it. Mastery done. And then the hardest this season is the Sprinter, completing Acts 1 through 5 in under an hour. Although some insane people have done that solo, it's generally better to do in a group, but you need a coordinated group in order to do it, and it does take a couple of tries in order to succeed. That one again, you're more than likely going to need a group in order to finish it. It's a bit harder. If you're looking for completion, you can do it. Otherwise, you're probably just going to do the Greater of 75 solo, the Greater of 45 solo without any sets, and then the kill 350 or more monsters during a curse event, and you're done. You've got Guardian. Enjoy your brand new portrait frame in profit. From there, of course, with every Diablo season opener, there is the Level with a Cause put on by Wolfcrier. You can check that out at levelwithacause.com to check out all the streamers that are involved. It is, of course, open. You don't just have to stream Diablo. You can stream any game in order to participate. With the Level with the Cause. I, unfortunately, because of work requirements and such, I'm not going to be streaming for this Level with the Cause. I will still be donating. But yeah, make sure that you go check it out. The usual suspects are all there in order going and participating. It benefits a great number of charities. It's been a great thing that Wolfcrier has been putting on for years now, and it's definitely worth going and checking out. As far as my own personal seasonal plans, even though, like I said, I unfortunately am not going to be able to stream the seasonal opener, as one of the going to be one of the ones I've missed. I think this is 2 seasons I've missed this year, for various reasons. But I'll make it up at some point, I promise. It's going to be interesting because I'm changing things up. I'm not going to roll a Necromancer. Like I mentioned earlier, it's Cenarius, which is, one of the more, odd sets. It's powerful, it can get there, it requires a little bit of, build and setup and such, but it just doesn't scale well, and Arius just doesn't really have that much of a place in the whole overarching scheme of the Necro builds. Is Anarius and Trag have just been left so far behind. It hurts. It really hurts. And I want to eventually work on completing all of the achievements in Diablo 3, and so what I'm going to do is hey, it's Invokers. I haven't completed the kill like the million enemies or 100,000 enemies or whatever it is with Thorns damage on the Crusader yet. So, well, I'm gonna level a Crusader. I'm gonna start off with Thorns Invokers. I'm gonna go through, try and complete that achievement. Get that all finished. I'm gonna try and complete all of the Crusader set dungeons because I haven't done any of them. So we'll work on those achievements throughout the course of the season. Maybe I'll stream some of that. Who knows? We'll see. But that's what my plans are for this particular season start. Also, like my usual streaming buddies, they're all just they are neck deep into Final Fantasy 14 Endwalker at the moment. It's like, oh yeah, just let us know when you're 70 and then power level us. It's like, thanks guys, I appreciate your support. But yeah, that's pretty much laying out like my seasonal goals. It's not just to unlock Guardian, get all the seasonal goals. I want to finish everything on the Crusader. I think that means I've got to play through the story again because I'm missing one like dialogue thing on the female Crusader. I finished all the male Crusader ones, and I somehow didn't finish all of the dialogue options on the female Crusader. So I gotta play through the story again, and I gotta master all the set dungeons. I gotta kill a whole bunch of enemies with Thorns damage. And so this will be my season to max out the Crusader and finish all of the Crusader specific class achievements for Diablo 3, because I want to get all of those achievements done before Diablo 4, so that way I say I have successfully completed Diablo 3 and I can move on with no regrets. But going through, that kind of like wraps it up. I'd be interested in hearing what you all are going to be doing, for season 25. What are you going to be doing, for the holidays and such? Are you excited for the soul shards? Are you excited what having easy access to all of these augments is going to do? Is there a different class that you're going to go through, try out? Are you excited by any of the class or set changes that we talked about in previous episodes? Do you want to try out and see, is Anarcheers even faster now? Is it going to take the top spot for Witch Doctors? It's not. Is how badly did they nerf Firebirds? Its time in the sun was very shortly lived. Yeah, feel free to drop me a line. The email, of course, is westmarchworkshop@blizzpro.com, or just leave a comment on YouTube or hit me up on Twitter. Let me know what your plans are, your goals are for season 25. But it's not like the only patch and updates that we have. As I mentioned on the previous episode, we've got some updates going through and coming for Diablo 2. Patch 2.3 has launched, with those things I was talking about, with the game scaling difficulties for offline games, the force move enabling feature, the quick cast bar as such, as well as just the accessibility and graphical improvements have all been added. So you've got a whole bunch of things that have been implemented and fixed. There's some various bug fixes that have happened. They're continuing to streamline online play, mitigate crashes and such as they continue to march forward towards getting ladders back up and running. And then once ladders are running, then who knows? Maybe we'll have new content. Maybe. And I do know that there was one thing that, even though the patch came out, last week. So the patch 2.3 came out last week. There was some delayed functionality improvements for the console because the consoles only got the game scaling difficulty for the offline play while the game was connected to the internet. Weird, right? But they have subsequently fixed that. Patch 2.3.0.1 came out just a couple days ago that fix that functionality for the Xbox and PlayStation, so that way they can now have access to the offline player difficulty scaling without having to have a paid subscription to the game service to connect the game system online. Like before, you had to have the PlayStation Plus subscription, Xbox Live? Is it still called Xbox Live, or is it Gamer Pass now? I haven't owned an Xbox in 11 years, so I don't know what it's called anymore. I'm sorry. I'm bad at that one. And there is apparently still waiting on that patch fix for Switch. Apparently the patch update for that functionality change for Switch consoles is still coming. Really cool. We continue to have some updates for Diablo 2. We're almost there. We're getting there. Every patch, every fix is bringing back, is getting us functionally close to seasons, ladders, whatever they're going to call it. And then once we get that, then they have no excuse. It's either, well, what are you working on next? Or what continued updates are they going to have for Diablo 2? I want to hear what they've got planned for Diablo 2. You know, are we going to have new stuff for Diablo 2? New Ubers, new events, new things, seasonal ladder themes, what have you? I do not know, but the prospect excites me. It really does. And also, speaking of Diablo 2, because obviously I kept saying Diablo 2, that was meant for Diablo 2 Resurrected, but for Diablo 2 Legacy, Diablo 2 Classic, they're getting a ladder reset. Even though the last ladder reset that we had in the summer, they did say that the cadence of the ladder resets was going to slow down with the release of Diablo 2 Resurrected. It seems that they're still doing the 6-month ladder reset, at least for now. Might slow down after this one, but for those that are still playing on the Diablo, the original Diablo 2 Classic Lord of Destruction, or however we deem to refer to that game as now, they are getting a ladder reset in a very welcoming change, of course, to how they addressed Warcraft 3 Reforged, where it's all Warcraft 3 Reforged. The original Diablo 2 is still a completely separate entity from Diablo 2 Resurrected, and so it's having its own little ladder reset in the same cadence that it was beforehand. Moving on to Diablo Immortal, I am more or less wrapping up my testing phase with Diablo Immortal. Things just are getting busy at work. I'm getting less and less time. There's also just some life and personal stuff going on and such, and so with the new Season 25 coming out for Diablo 3 and wanting to go through and hit certain goals and such, that one means we're going to have a little bit less time in order to play Diablo Immortal. I'm still going to continue to play it, test it, as I develop and put together some feedback. But all in all, I gotta say, definitely still A+. Absolutely love it. It's a AAA title. It's Diablo 3 2. This is definitely like the spiritual successor to Diablo 3. So if you like Diablo 3, if you enjoy Diablo 3 gameplay, you're going to enjoy Diablo Immortal. We got controller support. Controller support feels good, though it's still in development, so it still feels a little bit janky because whenever you go into a cutscene, you have to touch the screen. Menu interaction, you still have to touch the screen, so you can't just have the phone over there while you're playing on your little controller. You still got to keep the phone within reachable distance, because you at various points through gameplay you still have to tap the screen. There's no way around it. You got to do it. Though they said that jank things like that are expected during this beta because this is very early controller support, and that things will improve as we move forward, whether that be launch, as they said, in the first half of 2022, or another round of testing phases. We're not sure. I do still have concerns over the ability to purchase power in this testing phase that did not exist in the previous one. I talked about this before. The fact that the gyms have offense defense rating, or you might hear it referred to as ORDR or order, but the fact that the gyms themselves have order, and the rarest gyms just have levels of multitude more order than anything else, that it's just regardless of what build you play or what the effects of the gems have, like the best way that you can really kit out your character is just completely equipping all 6 of the rarest, 5-star gems that are maxed out at 5-star and rank 10, whatever. Because that complete set is, I believe, estimated to give you a little over 1,000 order, where people are going through that have been like grinding the game and playing with the server cap, because the way that Diablo Immortal is handling like the scalability issue of like the infinite scaling of Paragon and such, though it doesn't have infinite scaling of Paragon. That is misspeaking. But the way that it's kind of handling that to try and keep the game a little bit more balanced for all is that there is a cap on the Paragon level that increases every day. So the first day that the game launches, the Paragon cap is 2, and it increases by 2 every day, going forward. So after the game has been live for 40 days, the server Paragon is 80, because it goes up by 2. Now, that's not the actual cap itself. You can still go over that, but if you remain under the cap, you get 200% increased material rewards, which is very useful for getting like gear upgrades and increasing your order that way, as well as 200% experience, so that way you can help catch up. Because once you hit level 80, you're then just getting regular rewards. You're no longer getting the salvage materials or quest materials. You're no longer getting double the XP. You're just getting regular XP. And I believe it is between level 5. Once you're 5 levels over, or is it 8 levels over, it reduces the amount of experience that you get. And then once you're more than 8 levels over, it reduces the amount of experience that you get again. I think at 10 levels, it's 10 or 12 levels, it maxes. And then you gain zero experience. So you can really only play, around like that 8 levels above whatever the server Paragon is, and still like effectively get rewards for playing the game. But having the rewards themselves get reduced down to like, I think like 25% before it hits 0 makes it really difficult in order to try and like level up your gear, which is another not just a huge source of getting order for your gear, in addition to just having a higher level, and your Paragon level unlocks higher level gear, which has better stats, which gives you more order. When you upgrade your gear to certain levels, at level 6, at level 11, and level 16, you unlock kind of like little like pseudo set bonuses that have like some really unique effects, and if you manage to match all of those bonuses in the same category or family, as it's referred to, it unlocks like a different bonus. Like one of the ones, you've got, whenever you attack a mob, you've got like a 1% chance to summon a Hydra, and so it's this giant monster that spawns into the battle area and like starts killing and tanking monsters for you. It was a big strategy in the previous alpha in order to push some of the highest level challenge rifts, was because, well, all the enemies are trying to kill the Hydra, and its stats are crazy, so it allows you to just sit back and kill things, when normally they would all just gang up and kill you before you're able to, complete the challenge rift in time. So, it's got a lot of those aspects, that there's things that you want to play underneath some of those caps. And there's going to be guides up on like maxroll.gg, put together by some like really great people like Echo Hack and Dreadscythe, that will explain a lot of these things in better detail. But it's like kind of weird, because if you play every day and you like maximize your character and do everything that you're supposed to do, it's almost as if you get negatively impacted by it. Because like gaining experience is like one of the worst things that you can get in the game. So it's got like this weird kind of pseudo that you have to like target farm things, and you have to like avoid things that give experience. Like you don't do bounties. Like bounties are useless because all it really gives you is like gold, which is like whatever, and experience, which is bad. Because if you gain experience, that means you get less salvage, and if you get less salvage, that means you get less upgrades, which means you get less order, which means that you get less, the family bonuses for upgrading your gear and such. And it's created a really interesting meta, where like one of the best ways to catch up is to like, if the previous example, like the server cap is 80, you blast as hard as you can, gain as much experience as you can to get close to 80, like 78 or something like that. And then you stop gaining experience. You stop doing bounties. You stop picking up experience orbs from elites, and you just do specific events, quests. The carriage, the Nightmare Ancient, pages in Zoltan Kuhl's library and such. These very specific things that have been mapped out. They give very little experience, but a lot of scrap and materials, so that way you can then stay under that cap, blast a whole bunch of upgrade materials, get your upgrades caught up to where the people that have been that have been pushing it, that are like the level 85, level 87, and once you've caught up at that point and you've gotten your upgrades on at that level, then you surpass the cap in order to try and max out your character. Because there are still certain advantages, because if you're playing above the cap, you're gonna hit the Paragon tiers earlier. Because every 10 levels you unlock like a new kind of like tier of gear, but it's not like Diablo 3 where like level 70 gear is just better than level 60 gear. It just, what it does is it pushes the bands higher. But it's one of those ones where like, so you have like a level 30 piece, has like a band with stat ranges between, say, a level 30 piece of stat ranges between like 20 and 50. A bad level 30 piece can roll 20s on your stats, and a good level 30 piece can roll 50s on the stats. Where when you have like a level 60 piece of gear, its bad stat rolls are 40, but its good stat rolls are like 70. So there's still a lot of overlap, and so just because you've got you're having level 60 gear drop for you doesn't mean that you're replacing your level 30 pieces. That's exacerbated even further with the they're calling it in-game, that you'll get like a little pop-up that says, oh, you got an exceptional gear piece, because instead of the regular 2 attributes on your gear, you got 3. These all elusive triple stack gear. It's kind of like the creme de la creme when it comes to getting upgrades in the game, because they'll roll lower. So say like your maximum stats you can get on a piece of gear is like 60. Well, if you get a triple stat, they're not going to be 60, they're going to be 50. But because there's 3 of them, you're just looking at the total attributes of it. So a piece that has the 2 regular attributes at 60 has 120 total attributes, is giving you a total of 120 order, versus a triple stat at 50 is actually giving you 150 order. So it's giving you a lot more, that's allowing you to progress further, because at the end of the day, what each of the individual attributes do really doesn't matter. It's just the fact that it gives you order, and that's the end-all be-all in order to go and push yourself further and further. Though eventually it does drop off. It's not a linear increase or decrease. There's spikes, and so this isn't actual factual data or anything like that. I'm just using it as an example. But like, if you're fighting an enemy that has an order requirement of 200 and you only have an order of 100, you're doing 0 damage to it. You're doing absolutely nothing. It's just gonna like smack you around, kill you, and there's nothing you can do. You just have no scaling whatsoever. Once you get up to 150 order, now you're only 50 order below it, you're doing half the damage that you normally would. But then once you get up to, say, 210 order, so now you've actually surpassed the order that's necessary in order to fight that, or recommended to fight that particular creature, you're now doing, like 20% more damage than it. So it has like these little spikes. It's not just because, oh, you've got 10 more orders, so you're doing 10% more damage. You got a little bit of a spike, and then it drops off a little bit. Then you got like a little bit of a spike. So once you're like 100 order over, like you're doing double damage to it. You're doing double, triple damage that you normally would. But then once you go higher above that and say now you're at 1,000 order, you're still only doing like double, triple damage to it. It doesn't continue to scale exponentially. The higher or lower that you get, it gets to a point it levels off. in the way that the difficulty scaling is set in these huge bands. So like you have the different levels of hell that you can play through the game on for the different difficulties. And like some of the earlier on, you know, it's like one of the big things that you want to do is, oh, you want to hit Paragon 30 because Paragon 30 unlocks Hell 2. You get a whole bunch of like much higher static gear and all those other types of stuff. But then like Hell 3 is Paragon 90, which, you know, as I said before, with that Paragon Cap only increasing by 2 per day, to go from Paragon 30 to Paragon 90 is going to require a month. It's going to require 30 days before you can really realistically get to that point and do it. You know, and so there'll be a significant jump, you know, in the order requirement in order to do that, because like in order to successfully do like content in Hell 2, I think it was something around like 1700 order. You know, it's like not that high, it's not that bad, or maybe it's only like 1500. But then in order to do like Hell 3 content, it's like 25, and then to do like Hell 4 content, it's like 51. You know, it's like, so it has like these big jumps, but then like before you get to like the 5000 order to do like, you know, like Hell 4 or whatever it is, which requires Paragon level 160, by the way. So then it's 70, it's, you know, 70 levels out. It's 35 days out before you can actually go through and, you know, hit to that point. You know, you're going to have some increases in your gear, but you're still fighting stuff that only required, you know, like 2500 order in order to fight. Your damage is going to spike up as you get those big upgrades, but then you're gaining like 1000 more order and you're not really doing any additional damage, and so it's just kind of like, oh, I got this like little drop off or whatever. And so as you hit those kind of like those peaks and those troughs of the way that the scaling and the difficulty system works, you know, you'll notice that, oh, maybe that gear upgrade isn't as important, and I can begin to go through and start focusing on those individual attributes and what those individual attributes do, because, well, you know, intelligence is better than willpower because intelligence increases my damage, whereas willpower just like increases my resistance. You know, it's not that big. But for the most part, just going at the pure stats and increasing those attributes is like the thing that you want to go for. And then there's sets. Then there's the secondary gear and sets and those upgrades and a whole bunch of other systems and such that we still got time to talk about. But, you know, it's like going back to kind of like the core of it, I really like the way that the system is set up, though I do have some problems with the way that you can purchase order, which is like the core system for the difficulty scaling in the game is purchasable. And like you can just straight up drop money, thousands, tens of thousands of dollars worth if you want to do it, but you can just buy 1000 order, you know, right off the bat. And we don't know if the scaling changes much higher up, but like from what we know of the system now, 1000 order is 1000 order, whether it is comparing 1000 to 2000 or 5000 to 6000. That 1000 stat increase, because it is, you know, the way that the scaling works, that 1000 order always means the same level of difference. It's always going to give you that same like stat increase. Though there is some mitigating factors in PvP, though there are some PvE elements, the still majority of the game seems to be focused around the PvP, Cycle of Strife and such. So it's I have concerns. I have some concerns. I would be fine if they took it off completely, or if they just normalized order on all gyms. That if you want to go through and do it, sure, whatever, because only someone that spends serious amounts of cash is ever going to get a rank 10 5-star gym, you know, or someone that is free to play for like literal years because of the materials required in order to get a rank 5 gym to max level, because you need an exponential amount of the same type of rank 5 gyms to level it up to rank 10, whereas a rank 1 gym doesn't. You know, I think I've got like one 5-star gym to rank 3, and it's cost me the same amount of resources, the same amount of legendary gems as like getting a rank 2-star to like, or a 2-star gym to rank 6. Like, it's just ridiculous. But its stats are better. It's better than anything. It's, in fact, that rank 3 5-star gym, because I maxed out the 5 stars. It has a little bit of a scaling difficulty in the scaling. Because the 5-star gyms only start off as 2, but can be ranked up or starred up. I don't know. There's like ranks, levels, all this other, so they can be starred up just 5 stars. Because I lucked out and got a 5-star rank 3 gym. That already base has more order on it than if I got a rank 1 gym or a 1-star gym to rank 10. It has more on it, period. If they normalize that, and that I think would help go much further, because a free-to-play person, yeah, you can probably realistically get like rank 1 gyms up to, or 1-star gyms up to rank 10 as a in like a reasonable amount of time as a free-to-play player, because you're doing your daily activities, you're getting platinum, so you can use that platinum to buy stuff off the marketplace. You can sell regular gems in the marketplace. You can sell your charms on the marketplace and get platinum. You use that platinum to buy, just fodder gems and stuff like that to get your rank 1s. Just run your regular crests every day with hilts and everything in order to get other things, and just reasonably over time you'll be able to build up those rank 1 gyms, or those 1-star gyms to get rank 10. I'm tripping over the terminology, but I think it is perfectly reasonable for a free-to-play player to get maxed 1-star gyms. And so if that aspect alone of a 1-star gym gives the same order as a 5-star gym, we're cutting that back. Because sure, the person that puts in money will get the power faster, but the free-to-play player can catch up. And also, if you take that scaling down to what the rank 1 gyms are, or the 1-star gyms are, where it's paltry, you've got like 4 or 6 order increases like per rank. It's not a lot. Like, you can overcome that by just being like, 1 Paragon tier of gear up higher, or just like target farming specific set pieces and dungeons and getting those exceptional pieces and getting those triple stat pieces than what a whale can purchase. So I think reducing that power play will go a great distance towards balancing the game and making it, I feel, the best like mobile Diablo experience that it can be, by reducing that ability to have purchasable player power. I acknowledge that obviously a perfect Diablo game wouldn't have any, but it's a mobile game, it's a different market, and no, I'm not saying it's that's like it's a Chinese system or something like that. People stop saying that. That's like borderline racist, if not racist. That's just the way that mobile games are, across the globe, across the world. They've got like pay to quick advance systems and stuff like that, and it's just like whatever. But if you look at the current way that the power structure like in Immortal is you've got some free-to-play players that have like really blasted the game and gotten their upgrades and all this other type of stuff, and they're doing really well. They are holding their own with the people that have blasted, maybe spent like a couple $100, or the people that have just dropped like 10 grand into the game, 20 grand into the game, and got just like ridiculous gems and stuff like that. Some of the background mechanisms with the PvP scaling has helped reduce that through that. As long as you kind of like keep up in the Paragon levels and you're keeping your gear upgrades, normalized and such, that you should still be within that realm that you can compete. But of course, the person that's whaling at the moment will still have that little bit of the advantage. And if we can just take a little bit of that advantage away, all thumbs up from me. And before we end the episode, of course, I did say we got some speculation for Diablo 4. And well, I guess that speculation really comes down to, well, this week is Diablo 3 news, so I guess that means next week is Diablo 4 news? Possibly? Maybe? It's realistically one of the last things that they can do, because traditionally Blizzard shuts down for like the last like 2 weeks in December, or like the last week in December, first week in January. So just like the previous years, so the 2020's quarter 4 announcement, I expect it like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of next week, the 14th, the 15th, or the 16th. I think is when we're going to go through and get the Diablo 4 quarter 4 dev update. And so, as always, I'll go through. I'll do a special episode the night that goes live, provided that I am not at work that evening, of course, because next week is Spider-Man, and we've got some special events that are calling me and working some evenings and such that I have to do. Oh, man, it's like I gotta watch Spider-Man early. Shucks, that sucks, right? Because there's some perks. It's not all bad, okay? But we'll see as how things work out when the actual dev blog itself drops. Of course, this is gonna be something that a lot of people have been looking forward to, because they're talking about in-game systems. And that's something that people really, really want. I'm still hoping that, who knows, maybe we'll just get, they're not doing BlizzCon Line in February. We're not getting that BlizzCon Line thing done then. Wouldn't now be like a great time to just drop the 5th class, right? Wouldn't that be cool? Sure, like in-game systems are great and all that, but that's all like nebulous concepts that we can sit and argue for. What does this mean? What does that mean? But until we play it, we've got no idea. But you drop a class like they did with the Rogue, and people can sit there and be like, that looks fucking awesome, and just get super excited about that's the way that I view it, at least. Like, in-game systems more important to me than the actual classes? Well, yeah, of course, because if the in-game systems are not fun to play, then the class is not fun to play regardless. But it's something that I feel as if until you actually like play it, how are you going to know? The words on a screen describing the in-game systems don't excite me as much, because until you really get your hands on it, it doesn't mean as much. But there you go. That's those are my expectations. We should hopefully get the Diablo 4 blog next week. We shall see. But until then, I will catch you all next time. And of course, that next time will be whenever the dev blog itself drops. But there will not be another episode in December. Going to be taking a little bit of a hiatus. So normally the next episode would be December 22nd. That is not the case. Will also not be the 29th. And it will not be the 5th. Currently, I don't plan on recording another episode of the Westmarch Workshop until January 12th. I know that is quite some time away. But just like I said, between like work events, the holidays, some family stuff, and such, that is just it's not got time on the plate for going through and doing episodes. So sorry, you won't be able to hear the annoying shrill of my voice for another month. But I will have a developer blog update whenever they drop that dev blog. Until then, I don't expect to record episode 223 until January 12th. Maybe we'll do something special, not here on the Westmarch Workshop, but on my personal stream for the actual 25th anniversary of Diablo. I will try and stream at some point, for the season 25 goals and trying to max out the Crusader and such. I don't have much hopes of recording anything for Diablo Immortal at this point, because it's on Android and it just is not. Me and Android aren't working. Me and Android just are not getting along at this point. But until then, I do thank you for going through and joining me here on this episode. I look forward to seeing you again on the next episode, but feel free until then to drop me a line at westmarchworkshop@blizzpro.com. Again, if you have any questions, comments, feedbacks, or concerns, drop me over at westmarchworkshop@blizzpro.com. You can find the show normally record every other Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific over at twitch.tv/BlizzPro. But again, because of the holidays and everything, I won't be recording a new episode until January 12th, barring the upcoming dev blog, which you'll just have to keep an eye on Twitter, which you can find the show at the WM Workshop, or you can follow me personally at 9ballgamer. That is 9ballgamer. In order to go through and find it there. But until then, I wish you all happy holidays, and I will catch you all next time.